Hello and welcome to this special show on Rajya Sabha Television. I am Vishal Dahiya and here we take a stock of India's battle against COVID-19. Now, this is a very important aspect which we're going to talk about as far as this particular fight against COVID-19 is concerned, and this deals with the other seasonal ailments or the diseases which we are prone to during this particular season, like dengue, malaria, chikungunya, seasonal influenza as well. Now, the problem is that these diseases during this COVID period can also create a bit of a confusion when it comes to diagnosis, as well as the question is how to manage COVID-19 along with co-infection if at all one or two of these diseases are present in a particular patient. So today we're going to talk about all these aspects in detail, that is about management of co-infection of COVID-19 with the seasonal diseases. And for more on this, we're joined by a distinguished panel of guests. Let me first introduce them to you. Beginning with, we have Dr. S.K. Singh, Director of the NCDC in the Ministry of Health, Government of India. We also have with us Dr. Dhruv Chaudhary, Senior Professor and Head of the Pulmonary and Critical Care Medicine at Pandit B.D. Sharma PGIMS Rohtak in Haryana. And we also have with us Senior Indian Virologist Dr. Shahid Zamil, who is also the CEO of Wellcome Trust TBT India Alliance. Welcome all of you gentlemen to Rajya Sabha Television. Let me begin with you, Dr. Dhruv, since you are dealing with the COVID-19 patients on the ground there as well. Let's first understand, how much is the prevalence of these, seasonal diseases vis-a-vis COVID-19, and how much of a complex situation it can be with the co-occurrence of all these diseases.
Thank you, Vishalji. I think it's a very pertinent question as far as the clinicians is concerned, and it's a double whammy of seasonal diseases plus COVID, which we are seeing. And most of the time, post-monsoon, we see a flurry of these cases, in particular related to vector-borne diseases, which you have mentioned. And I think another important disease which you have which I would like to add to, is the scrub typhus, which we are seeing in plenty. And the major challenge which is coming to us is a combination together, primarily is to diagnose them. And once you have diagnosed, how to proceed further and to realize which is causing the complications which you are seeing. Giving you an example, like we have a patient of a dengue who also has got a COVID. Now the question first which comes up is it actually a COVID and you are having a false positive test, or actually you are having a combination of these two diseases together? Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things. Similarly, we are seeing a lot of cross-reactivity between typhoid fever when we diagnose them through antibodies vis-a-vis COVID and additional disorders. It's not that, like this year itself at Rohtak, in the intensive care unit which I look after, within last 60 days or so, we have ventilated more than 34 cases of scrub typhus alone. Mm-hmm. Similarly, we are having right now with us 2 patients with a combination of COVID with dengue. And also we are seeing a lot of false positive typhoidots which are there, which are coming up, and on cultures and RT-PCR, they're turning out to be negative. So for the clinicians, it becomes extremely challenging. So this problem is real. And I think we need to be very clear-headed while looking them, especially in the critical care settings, to have a right diagnosis so that patients do well.
Okay. We'll talk about the diagnosis as well as looking at it from the patient's perspective as well. Let me bring in Dr. Shahid Zamil here first. Dr. Zamil, from your point of view, how complicated the situation becomes in these scenarios?
Well, as Dr. Chaudhary said, from a clinical perspective, it becomes complicated. From a patient's perspective, if I have a fever, the first thing that I'll think of is I possibly have COVID. You have to create an environment in which people will quickly go and get tested. If you have stigma associated with it, people will not go and get tested and hope that it is not COVID and something else. And that really complicates the situation.
Okay.
So I think we have to see it from both perspectives. It can be complicated, and this is a season when you will get multiple infections. So the point is that you must provide ease for patients to go and get tested for whatever they have. That's very, very important.
Okay, okay. That's an interesting and important point there as well from the patient's perspective, as Dr. Zamil is pointing out. Let me bring in Dr. S.K. Singh here. Dr. Singh, if we look at the situation, then as Dr. Dhruv said, you know, the problem is very real, and it faces us right now in terms of, you know, all these seasonal diseases which can co-occur or exist with the COVID-19 in a particular patient. I understand the government has come up with proper guidelines for the management of co-infection of COVID along with all these seasonal diseases. So if you could take us through those as well as, put across your point of view in terms of how worried should we be in terms of, you know, this particular season vis-a-vis all these diseases coming at us at one go?
Oh, thank you, Vishal. And I think you have brought in a very nice topic at this particular juncture, because all through the past 9 months, I must say that we have been rather focusing more on COVID. And in the process of focusing more on COVID, there has been a conscious neglect, both in the surveillance also, in laboratory aspects also, and in clinical management also, and thereby having an impact directly on the public, which has become more COVID oriented, as Dr. Shahid has rightly mentioned, that everybody, and Dr. Dhruv was also pointing out, that everybody thinks first and foremost that 80 to 90% he will be suffering from COVID. Maybe it may be a seasonal influenza. So, but here I would like to point out that we have to look at the seasonality also, and the diseases prevalent in the area also. Here, IDSP, or the surveillance network which we have in the country, which is right now looking after this, has published a calendar of events wherein we know that in which particular months we are prone to more disease, more vector-borne diseases or respiratory diseases, or the diseases which are mite transmitted, or leptospirosis and others as well, which are occupational related. So I think these are the areas where we have to focus. And focus, I think government has issued, as you have mentioned, guidelines for surveillance, particularly for seasonal influenza. Those guidelines have gone to the clinicians also and to the states also. So they have adequate preparedness in the laboratory for the diagnostics, and the hospitals for having oseltamivir, both in syrup and tablet form, and also with regard to having a high degree of suspicion among the clinicians, because there is a set pattern for all these diseases. But when it is combined with COVID, I think it is going to be challenging, both for laboratory, both for the public health also, and also for the clinicians.
Okay, okay. So it is indeed a challenging task. That brings me back to Dr. Dhruv here. Dr. Dhruv, let's now come to the diagnostic aspect which you were, referring to in your initial response. Now, how should the clinicians go about it? And it's not only about the clinicians or the doctors who are treating the patients. Let's also look at it from the patient's perspective, as Dr. Shahid Zamil was pointing out.
You see, I think we have to stick to the basics of medicine. That's number one, I will say. And whenever you look in terms of infectious diseases, what Dr. Singh very elegantly said, that we should have a calendar. We need to know the epidemiology of the disease, because otherwise, if you are just hitting in the dark, it won't work for you in the vacuum. So you need to know it. So the first thing is the basics of medicine. Secondly, you need to know the organisms which are there, which are responsible for causing it. And thirdly is a good clinical examination, which gives you an idea. What I am finding is very interesting is, as he has also mentioned in terms of it, when to make a right diagnosis, I will come to that. We have created an excellent infrastructure of laboratory network for the viral diseases. Now, what is happening is we are still, I know it becomes cost effective. The labs are overworked with the COVID, and we are finding it out in terms of that at my own place. We have now 5 RT-PCRs working right now at this point of time. Now it is for the last 2 weeks. Now we have started getting RT-PCR for dengue, and we are putting it on NS antigen. So we have to go more on antigen-based testing than antibody testing to prevent, in fact, the false positivity. And we have to, if we have done it, I think I will request Dr. Singh is sitting around and part of the task force to emphasize to the state government that along with the COVID, we need to put now this network COVID has given to every single state. Now they should reinforce those labs. So the false positivity which is coming with antibody testing will go away too. And third, which is happening, as you said, we have reinforced with our Seltamavir. I think we need to be careful about it, sir. I'm putting it up here because when you're already asking Favipiravir as a part of it, the national task force needs to give very clear guideline. People may not start giving oseltamivir with the Favipiravir, which actually has been primarily an influenza drug. I think that thing we also need to look into it. And I agree with Dr. Jamil. I had a similar problem in my own home. Because that explains, my brother-in-law had a fever. We looked at it, COVID 4 times negative. Now your typhoid not coming positive. What we are dealing with? End of the day, we're looking at the new guidelines which the government has given that 3 symptoms and all. We treated according to that. It became all right. So the point I'm trying to say is that we have to go more and more emphasis towards antigen-based, that they are a little more costly.
Okay.
But at the same time, they give you spotters that we have point-of-care testing, but gradually we have to escalate it to more sophisticated lab tests to prevent that thing. And that has to expand as much as has happened in the case of COVID. And like scrub typhus, again, I'm saying, it's again so common. And simple 50 rupees treatment can treat this in the form of doxycycline. That's a different issue. Now the people are using right, left, and center. Another complication has been added by my clinician's colleague, using ivermectin, doxy, amoxi, azithromycin, everybody right across the table. So that has further complicated the pattern of fever, what we are dealing with. Therefore, when you are making a diagnosis, again, I'm coming back, stick to the basics of medicine, and then systematically look at it, and then see it. And definitely, I would like to rule out COVID today, because it is rapidly, we can easily do it, both with rapid antigen point-of-care testing, other point-of-care testing, and RT-PCR. Facilities are expanded exponentially.
Okay. Dr. Jamil, would you agree? Sticking to the basics is ultimately the way ahead, because the more complex the situation becomes, the more we should go back to basics and understand what are we dealing with here.
Well, certainly. I mean, there's no argument with that. And I do agree that testing in hospitals at the point of care testing needs to be improved. With COVID, we have the antigen test, which is only about 50% sensitive. But at least when a patient gets to the hospital, it tells you 50% of the time, so that the doctor at least can be protected 50% of the time. See, that's important too. As far as dengue is concerned, there is a very good day one antigen NS1 test available. And it's been available in India for a couple of years now. That needs to be deployed vastly. A new COVID test, which has been developed by CSIR and is going to be marketed by Tata's, I believe it's either already in the market or about to be in the market.
The CRISPR-9 technology, Cas9 technology you're talking about?
Yes, the Feluda test. So it combines the power of genomic testing, PCR, with the point of care ease that an antigen test does, and it reaches the sensitivity of PCR. So I think this is the time to really deploy it widely in the hospital network. And I do agree that the PCR lab setup has expanded very well in India, but we have to realize that PCR is a technique which is very technical, which requires trained manpower, and there is turnaround time. You can't give a report before 8 to 10 hours, most likely the next day. So these are the problems that we have to deal with.
Okay. Dr. S.K. Singh, some quite significant suggestions coming in from both Dr. Shahid and Dr. Dhruv. You being member of the National Task Force, how would you look at suggestions like these, giving a bit more push to the strategy which is being adopted right now? Ultimately, the idea is to go ahead and tackle this particular pandemic and these seasonal diseases as well as one.
Just to highlight what Dr. Dhruv has already mentioned, that there are definite challenges and one guideline cannot fit in all. That is one. But yes, after having feedback from clinicians and from laboratory aspects and all, These are reviewed at Joint Monitoring Group and the National Task Force at a periodic interval. Today also we had a Joint Monitoring Group meeting wherein the various therapies are being looked into from public health perspective and from the government policy perspective. I think we all should realize that at the end of the day, it is the treating clinician which has to take a call regarding all these things, taking a combination of what is happening in the society, what is the laboratory result is showing, and what is clinical picture which is emerging in front of him. But yes, definitely there are guidelines for management, number one. We have to look at from the different disease perspective. If we are dealing with the vector-borne diseases, I think vector control measures should assume the prime importance, like what we are seeing in Bihar. We have seen that there has been sudden surge in Muzaffarpur and many other areas which are definitely, we are not having lot many diagnostics, and maybe there is issue with the lab diagnosis. But yes, dengue is definitely showing a surge for which we have a network. But yes, as Dr. Dhruv has mentioned, some of the diseases are very easily and very cost effectively treated, like scrub typhus, like leptospirosis, like we have a set pattern. Even I must say that H1N1 or H3N2, what we are observing. But we have to be very careful. And what I said in the my first statement also, that it is going to be a challenging time for all of us.
Okay.
Not only because we are going to have COVID, because persons who have recovered, they are also prone for many bacterial infections apart from the viral illnesses for which we have definite diagnostic network right now.
Okay, okay. And then one more question here, Dr. Singh. Since you're dealing with the entire situation on a national level, you're part of that task force which strategizes, makes policy, and plans to go ahead and tackle the entire situation. What kind of impact, these seasonal diseases or the way we tackle this situation here onwards might have on the overall COVID-19 pandemic situation, which we are in right now, wherein the numbers at the national level are going down. So, do you believe that there might be some positive or negative impact there on the overall COVID-19 situation?
You are very right that on one hand, we are having less than 550,000 cases per day. That has decreased significantly in past 1 month from 90,000 to we have come down to less than 50,000. That is one good scenario which gives us a lot of comfort or a lot of, we can say that we are tackling it very nicely. But having said that, we should be aware that we are approaching a season where we are going to have festivals, we are going to have events, where there can be substantial spread. And this has happened in Europe, this has happened in many countries, and this is right now, if we say it is happening in Delhi also. We all are aware in all over India, we are seeing a declining trend, but in Delhi, we are seeing an increasing trend. The reasons are well known to everybody, but yes, because this disease right now is nowhere we can say that we have a clear roadmap in front of us, that we cannot say that we are in declining and we will continue to go in a declining phase. All of us have been proved wrong at one or the other time. We all know it that initially we thought in January, June, we got over in Delhi. Then again we got a surge. Again we got cases down to 2,000 or less than 2,000. Again we are seeing an increasing trend. So the basic point is in different areas the disease is going to have a local and focal impact as well. Overall country situation may show a decline trend, but in some areas, in some places like in Bihar, we are having a lot of events which may give a trigger in 14, 15 days or when the incubation period will be over or when this particular euphoria will go after the election. Maybe we can see sometime a different scenario.
Okay.
So I think all these issues.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Shahid, your views on that? The impact of this present situation, specifically the seasonal diseases and this co-infection scenario, it might have on the overall battle against COVID-19.
Well, the seasonal diseases, of course, will be there, but I would really like to focus on methods that are available to us today to protect ourselves from COVID and other respiratory infections. You know, when the Southern Hemisphere was having its winter, Australia saw a far better flu season this year than other years. And the simple reason for that was that people were careful about COVID and they were wearing masks. And as a result of that, they were also protected from flu. Now, I understand that Australia, that happened fairly early in the outbreak, there was no pandemic fatigue. In India and much of the northern hemisphere, we have pandemic fatigue. So situation will be different.
Okay.
But nevertheless, I will still emphasize that wearing masks, maintaining distance is about the only way to protect us from COVID and from many other respiratory diseases. Well, vector-borne diseases is a different matter altogether, but at least this we can protect ourselves from, and we must do that. That's the only tool available to us, really.
Okay.
I'll also say one other point. The largest study in the world, the largest contact tracing study in the world was done from India in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, which was published in Science a few weeks back, which showed very clearly that the highest risk comes from closed spaces and long periods of time. So we are coming to a season where people are going to remain more indoors. And that's another reason to keep worrying and to protect ourselves. And of course, as Dr. Singh said, there's elections in Bihar. And, when you look at pictures of election rallies, you will be hard pressed to find a mask. The festival season is coming. Just today, I saw a picture of Sadar Bazaar. It looked like COVID is over. So we have to be careful about these things.
Okay, definitely.
And we must continuously educate people about that.
Definitely. We can't lower our guard as far as COVID-19 is concerned. Before we bring this discussion to an end, I'd like to put one more question, final one, to Dr. Dhruv here. And Dr. Dhruv, this is from a layman's perspective, for our viewers to understand in terms of symptoms, if we are talking about because most of these vector-borne diseases or the seasonal diseases which we are talking about seemingly have, almost similar symptoms. There is an overlap there as well. So as a clinician, as a doctor who's dealing with all these, ailments on the ground, what would you suggest to the people in terms of the symptoms, the way symptoms develop and the way they should handle the situation there?
You see, I think, as I said, stick to the basics. And whenever somebody has a fever, if somebody has high-grade fever with chills or having a significant headache right on day one itself, in this season, probably we are going to think more in terms of dengue, but nevertheless, these symptoms can come up. Similarly, if somebody is having what we are seeing, quite a few people having a non-specific symptom, significant body aches, and bit of a sore throat, may not be very much. You start thinking more in terms of COVID, but we know that in COVID, nearly 50% will be asymptomatic. I think that's something we need to be aware about it. Similarly, scrub typhus becomes full-blown in the second week. When you start looking about a simple thing like Ashkar, which people see it, which is like which in simple parley, North India ki makdi chal gayi hai ya kuch kila kaat gaya hai. If you find something of that sort, along with the fever, that tells you about it. And what I'm aghast is that repeatedly telling people for the last 10 years, my physician colleagues still look the other way around because everything becomes a typhoid. And the drug which you use in typhoid, that is ceftriaxone, or they never work in it. So I think it's very important to do a good clinical examination along with it. As far as the malaria is concerned, again, quite a majority of these people, what the conditions which you have talked about, they all have a point of care testing. You can do it whether you do a smears for malaria or you do rapid antigen testing. Similarly, for the leptospirosis, another colleague of mine, he is from Kolhapur, I'm again quoting it, they had a dengue, he had a COVID, remained all right, but still continued to be positive for around about 8 to 12 weeks, had a fever with the significant joint pains. His antigen was negative, but later on, chikungunya, RT-PCR turning out. So what I am saying, the clinical context has to be there, evaluate, make a differential diagnosis in a classical copybook fashion, and then you go systematically in that fashion. I think that will help us and take the lab help. And simple tests needs to require you do not run after interleukin-6, etc. They're very fanciful tests. Simple your hemogram, simple your CRP, and probably availability of LDH ferritin, which are there. These tests are available across the board. They give you so much of a clue that you do not need to run after the fancy. We have all got educated about it. because they are all non-specific, but in the clinical context, they will help you. And similarly, the basic tools of bacterial examination and all. I think that's what we have to do and reassure people that probably, yes, COVID is there. COVID is not going to create any problem out of 10, more than 9 people in out of 10, if I may simply say so. Therefore, we have to tell them, look for warning signs, because that disease creates problem in second week. And unfortunately, our people feel first week you are fine, you go, everything is hunky-dory. No. So for a COVID, it's a second week. For scrub typhus, it's a second week. For leptospirosis, it's a second week. For influenza and for dengue, it is the first week.
Okay.
That's how, if we go it clinically, it makes a huge difference.
Okay, definitely. Sticking with the basics and looking at the clinical diagnosis is really, really important. This is a holistic view of how to manage COVID-19 co-infection with other seasonal diseases. Thank you so much, Dr. Dhruv, Dr. Shahid Zamil, as well as Dr. S.K. Singh, for sharing your views with us and our viewers on this very important aspect. And before we go, let us remind you once again about the COVID-19 appropriate behavior, something which can help protect you and your near and dear ones, specifically in these particular pandemic times. That is a simple 3 steps. Wear a face mask, clearly covering your face as well as your nose. Wash your hands very regularly and in a very proper fashion. Also ensure that you maintain physical distancing of at least 6 feet. These are 3 simple steps of COVID-19 appropriate behavior, and these are really, really important during this specific winter season as well as a festive season also. We'll come back again with a different topic. Till then, you keep watching Rajya Sabha Television.